The Chicago Bears are deep into their coaching search, and while it's been reported that it's coming down to a two-man race between Ben Johnson and Mike McCarthy, on today's episode, I want to talk about and ask the question, should Kliff Kingsbury actually be talked about as a more viable option for the Chicago Bears than what he's been talking about right now? Plus, we're going to look at the first initial mock draft for the Chicago Bears and who they have the Bears drafting to step a little bit away from the coaching talk, and we'll get into the mailbag. All that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. I want to talk a little bit about this. We had a live stream last night in regards to it being reported that Mike McCarthy and Ben Johnson, it's a two-man race for the Chicago Bears head coaching position coming down to those two guys. The Bears still have a while to wait before they can actually sit down in a face-to-face interview with Ben Johnson, which is going to extend this a little bit out, and they're still going to have some other interviews over that time. Kliff Kingsbury is one of those guys, and there have been a lot of people who have asked, and I try to always make sure that this shows as well a reflection as what is someone on you guys' mind, is that should Kliff Kingsbury and Todd Monken, for that matter, be higher on the probability list than what people are talking about him right now? Of course, we already know what Kliff Kingsbury brings, the relationship with Caleb Williams, the fact that he's already worked with Caleb. Caleb has already talked about what it would have looked like, how his voice would have been maximized if Kliff Kingsbury was there. And he's right now the offensive coordinator of the Washington Commanders that's also in their playoff hunt, and the Bears aren't going to be able to sit down and have a face-to-face interview with him. When you look at his resume and the experience that he has here, right? Offensive coordinator right now with the Washington Commanders. He was the senior offensive analyst with USC. He was the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals from 2019 to 2022, where a lot of people kind of knock on what he's going to be as a head coach, maybe for the Chicago Bears. He was offensive coordinator and and quarterback coach with Texas A&M in 2012. He's the co-offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach with Houston in 2011. And the quarterback coach, of course, with Houston, had a lot of roles between 2008 to 2011 with Houston. Kliff Kingsbury has a resume, and a resume that is proven as far as being a solid offensive coordinator. Now, the fit with the Bears is the question there on what he can do. He's coached Caleb Williams at USC, so we know that history exists. And we've seen what he now has done with Jaden Daniels as well. And, of course, that has Bears fans asking and clamoring of, hey, what could he do if he actually comes over here? Now, the thought process this is that the Bears missed out on the ability to have Kliff Kingsbury as their offensive coordinator. They interviewed him last year. They decided to go with Shane Waldron. They could have had him in the building, which is kind of the story for the Chicago Bears over this coaching search, is that a lot of the people that they're bringing in could have already been in the building, but that's a story for another day. Kliff Kingsbury, over the time, you know, when you look at it, he has had some really good moments that you can look at and say, he can come. His work with quarterback is the thing that's amazing there. He finished with a record with the Cardinals of 28, 37, and 1, right? So that, of course, is a losing record, but the offensive mind. And I think sometimes we can focus in on wanting to bring in something different than what we've seen. And, you know, it is what it is, right? I think that Kliff has a chance, right? And, you know, Caleb Williams has talked about how him and sitting down with Kliff has helped him grow as a quarterback when they were in USC and things like that. But it's the work with quarterbacks that would really get Kliff Kingsbury an opportunity to get this job, right? That's what makes him an interesting option here for the Chicago Bears. But is that enough? That's the question that's here. Now, people are going to respond to this and say, well, Hayes, what have we seen from Ben Johnson to say that it's enough? And I get it that right now he's the hype. And a lot of Bears fans are going off the hype, right? Rather than, you know, and the conversation around it, rather than kind of looking at the X's and O's and things like that. But I'll say this. The Bears do want a leader of men, right? And have we seen enough from Kliff to say that he's that leader of men as well, right? I think this is if we were talking about Kliff as the OC this year, I think he would be the favorite, right? If we're just talking about as an OC Yeah, he should have probably been last year. But if talking about as the head coach, that option is a little bit different. And that skill set is a little bit different. So the work that he's done with quarterbacks and his relationship with quarterbacks doesn't necessarily mean that he can be a great head coach. And I think that while the Bears in this coaching search do want to make sure that Caleb is taken care of and they have somebody who's going to know what to do with the development of Caleb Williams, it's the totality of the team that you have to look at in that aspect as well. He had one winning season with Arizona, but then again, not blaming everything that went left in Arizona just on Kliff Kingsbury, but much like we say that quarterbacks, rightfully or wrongly, are given the lion's share of the blame for win-loss records, the same thing happens to head coaches. So it's a really deep NFC North division as well. But I think when you to answer the question here, right, why isn't Kliff Kingsbury talked more about as a viable head coach option as some of the other guys? I think it just comes down to that. And I think that there is a little bit of, between Getsy, between Waldron and the Fellings there, that they're a little bit, and honestly, if it wasn't for Ben Johnson having the amount of success that he's having with the Detroit Lions over years, I do think that some of that bad juju would be, and some people are already doing it, right? We've had Darius call in. He called Ben Johnson Matt Nagy 2.0. So there's already some people that look at it like that because there is that jadedness over hiring the offensive coordinator. But I think Ben Johnson is a much different place. We know he's calling the plays. He's been calling the plays for a while. He's adapted that system to make sure he gets the most out of people. So that's why I don't necessarily look at it that way as far as the Matt Nagy comparisons. But the reason why I think Kliff Kingsbury is getting that is just because we haven't really seen that leader of men quality from Kliff Kingsbury. And the work with quarterbacks is great, but I don't think it puts him above the likes of a Ben Johnson, above a Mike McCarthy, above a Pete Carroll. And that's why you're seeing Kliff Kingsbury not talked about in that same light. But you guys can let me know how you feel down below. Do you think that Kliff Kingsbury should be talked about as more of a viable option for the Chicago Bears, or do you kind of agree with some of the things that are kind of naysay in regards to him? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. Now, with that said, we gotten some mock drafts coming in already for the Chicago Bears and what they should do in their top 10 pick. And I'm excited to talk about a little bit of draft. So we're going to get into that. This is not my full draft analysis yet, but I do want to get into some of the roundup of the mocks that have been out so far, right? So as of right now, The Athletic have the Chicago Bears drafting Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle from Ohio State. It's enough said. We already know that the offensive line is the thing that we want to see this Bears team adjust. When you look at it as well, like his draft stock right now is considering a knee injury that he had in October. It's some questions around him, but if he clears that and he plays well in the combine, he's going to shoot up some draft boards. And I think that he has a very high ceiling and a low floor. And a high floor as well. And so because of that, there as long as that injury history's that injury's cleared up by the draft combine, I like that potentially here for the Chicago Bears. Now, CBS Sports have the Bears drafting edge Abdul Carter out of Penn State. Citing this, Abdul Carter would be a boon for the Bears at number 10 overall, given his burst, flexibility, length, and ascending power. And we know, yes, we have Austin Booker here, but the Bears very well could look to get that long-term pairing for Montez Sweat. And even then, you have Booker, and you have a rotation there. We don't know what's going to happen with Hardy. He could come back. He could not come back. But, that's what the Bears are could be looking at as well. Pro Football Network has the Bears drafting offensive tackle Will Campbell out of LSU, citing this. The Bears' season ended on a high note with an upset victory on the road against the Packers. It's clear that the current state of their offensive line is not acceptable if they want to give Caleb the absolute best chance to develop. In this case, I will kick Campbell inside to guard with an option to move him back to left tackle if the Bears don't extend Braxton Jones. Wherever he plays, LSU's consensus All-American lineman would use his high football IQ, his expert hand usage, and combination of coordination and power to become a high-level starter in the NFL. Love it. Love it. Will Campbell is a guy that I would love to see the Bears draft at number 10. I think all the things, the technique, he has all the things that can make a really good tackle in the NFL. I think if you have him and Darnell Wright, you got two very young guys that can pair and be on your offensive line for a long, long time. You still got some other things that you need to fill out, which comes later in the draft. But I think overall, that makes a lot of sense for the Chicago Bears. The 33rd team have the Bears drafting Kelvin Blanks out of Texas, citing that the Bears simply need to improve the infrastructure around Caleb Williams. Williams himself needs to be better moving forward too. But generally speaking, his ups and downs were exactly what you thought you were going to get out of him coming out of USC. Chicago's pass protection would benefit from a boost in their figures to be some turnover on the left side unit. Banks Jr. can serve as the solution for one of those two spots and give the team flexibility, both short-term and long-term. Again, makes sense. Drafting offensive linemen. Athlon Sports also has Josh Simmons, again, citing the injury things going on with there. And Marquee Sports has Edge Mikael Williams out of Georgia. This is a guy that I've talked a little bit about. I think over on Bleacher Report, it makes a lot of sense for the Bears, I think, overall. But again, it depends on if the Bears want to address the offensive line first and early in the draft and what they feel they're going to do there. But overall, that's it. The one kind of outlier with this mock draft so far is CBS Sports have the Bears drafting Ashton Jeanty, the running back out of Boise State. Now, make no mistake about it. He's a talent, and he's a talent that's worth taking in the top 10. But with the Bears already paying Swift, I don't know if they're going to pay draft another running back when we need the offensive line. Now, unless, let's say we get the third round pick, if Ian Cunningham does leave, that can make some sense there. But I just don't know if the Bears are going to go running back with all the work that they need to do on the offensive line. But I could be wrong there. But let me know what you guys think on all that down below. But it is Friday. That means it is Mailbag Day. Let's go ahead and get into these voicemails. This one's from Jew.
What's up? This is Darius from out west Chicago, but I'm in Baltimore doing tattoos and stuff. But look, shout out to Bobby, C-Dub, Hayes. Shout out to the Cognac Boys. I just want to talk about Darius from Dallas. I just really tired of hearing him calling y'all because he's talking about trade Jalen Johnson to get money, then do all type of stuff. He sounds like a Jerry Jones, like he's from Texas for real. So he should just sit for Dallas Cowboys, not the Bears. And then he wants to say, get rid of this person, get rid of that person. It makes no sense, especially getting rid of a shutdown that can lock down half of your field or lock down your best receiver any given day. Makes no sense at all. So we do need to beef up that offensive line, beef up that defensive lineman. Probably just need 1-2 for the defensive line, but really the offensive line. I think it would be best to go after Ben Johnson. I do got, PTSD from having Matt Nagy, but Matt Nagy wasn't calling plays like Ben Johnson was. So that is a leverage that Ben Johnson do have. But I also like the fact that if we able to trade for Mike Tomlin or Kyle Shanahan, that'd be great too. So I kind of would like to get Ben Johnson because he's young and he can grow with Caleb. But I also want to establish a person that can elevate Caleb, but at the same time elevate the whole team. I don't want nobody that's just in just for Caleb, like a Kliff Kingsbury. Kliff Kingsbury cannot elevate a whole team, so he needs to be off the list. And Dallas from Texas, Darius from Dallas, Texas. Please stop talking and calling because you say most of the ridiculous things when you leave your voicemail every single time. Anyway, start time up, bear down.
All right, listen, one thing that we're not going to do is say that just because somebody's not from Chicago that they shouldn't root for the Bears. That's just not what we're going to say. Darius is a Bears fan through and through. And while you may disagree with some of his takes, I disagree with some of his takes. I said before, understanding and agreeance are two very different things. And Darius usually explains himself pretty well. Now, do I always agree with what his thought process, like trading Jalen Johnson? No. But I do think he lays it out pretty well as far as why he wants that. I just don't always agree. But like I said to everybody, if you disagree with somebody's opinion, call in and leave better voicemails on your opinion. Not necessarily to argue or to say something about somebody else's opinion, but air your opinion out. This is an open platform. Anybody can call in and leave a voicemail with their thoughts. But as far as that, the Bears aren't trading for a head coach, brother. They're not trading for a head coach. It's just not going to happen. The Bears aren't going to give up any assets right now with all the work they still need to do with the roster to try to trade for a head coach. Now, would that be different if they felt the roster was in a really great place and they felt like the only thing kept keeping them from getting over the hump was the coach? Maybe. But they're not trading for a head coach. Whether that be Shanahan or Mike Tomlin, it's not happening. We're not trading for a head coach. So everything's starting to shape up. Now, as far as evaluating the whole team, that is a key. I think what you say with Kliff Kingsbury, we don't know if he can. We can't really say that yet. You can't say that about like Ben Johnson, for example. But we do need somebody that can elevate the whole entire team, meaning that if they're offensive-minded, if they're defensive-minded, getting their coordinators in here that are going to help with the other side of the ball is really important for that as well. So, we'll see what the Bears end up doing. This head coaching search has opened a lot of eyes, a lot of different avenues that they can go to, and we'll just see where it ends up coming out on the other side of that. All right, let's get into the next voicemail. Man, this one's from Weez.
Hey, what's going on, CEO Hayes, C-Dub, Bobby, Steve-O? It's your man, Weez SME, man. West Side baby from Chicago, but I reside in Missouri. about 40 minutes from Arrowhead around these Chiefs fans, man. I had my low 2 cents in, man, on the coaching situation, man. Me personally, Mike McCarthy, like everybody said, even CEO Hayes said it, man. You know, he's definitely not the popular pick. But on the same token, and just my opinion, I feel like the Bears have choices, but I basically think it's McCarthy or Ben Johnson. Now the question will be, do you interview him tomorrow or whatever time they're going to interview him, right? Do you interview him and then you wait to see what Ben Johnson's going to do? And then if Ben Johnson turn us down, do you think Mike McCarthy is going to sit around and wait on that? That's a possibility, right? Maybe. But I don't see that happen. I don't see that man sitting around. And personally, I think the Bears is kind of almost left with choices, but without a choice. Because if they interview him tomorrow and things good, man, I see Mike McCarthy being our coach tomorrow, man. Reed and Ben, I think personally on Mike McCarthy's side, he might just want to be the coach, man. You got Caleb that just need a few pieces of O-line to protect the man, a young thoroughbred that ain't even untapped his potential, and that's possibly could turn up in the next year or two. So, you know what I mean? And like you said, his track record, McCarthy's track record is ugly, but if you really look at it, it is a success, but it's ugly. You know, but I do see him, but on his end, taking the Bears coaching job. Question is the Bears actually going to sit around and wait on Ben Johnson to see what he's going to do? It could very well be that, man. I just don't see them having an interview and them saying, hold fast, we're going to see what Ben Johnson doing. With Ben Johnson don't choose us, then, oh, yeah, we'll snatch McCarthy. I don't see him sitting around waiting on that. So there's something in me telling me that McCarthy might be our head coach tomorrow sometime. Another thing, they always say get back come with time, man. Like I said, you know, we Chicagoans, you feel me? And the thing is, man, this is a perfect opportunity. I don't know how if it was Blad Bud or the situation that happened in Green Bay, but this is a perfect opportunity for McCarthy to go ahead and snatch his job and, man, start turning up on them boys 2 times a year. You feel me? To get his get back. You feel me? I don't know if they left on good terms or bad terms, but it's just an opportunity for him to go as a coach to go to the rival team.
First of all, y'all killing me with these nicknames. Y'all don't use the name y'all mama gave y'all. Like, what are we talking about here? I guess say that and then I use Hayes on the show, right? So it is what it is. McCarthy waiting around. I do think that, like, there's going to be a second round interview. And the Bears have not had the opportunity to meet face-to-face with Ben Johnson yet, so they're going to have to do that. And I think Mike McCarthy is aware enough to know, being around the NFL, that I don't think it's necessarily going to knock the Bears. He's going to knock the Bears if they want to wait around to make sure that they can interview another candidate. So I don't think that we're going to see a hiring soon. But, I mean, listen, if the Bears do, then they do. I mean, we'll see what happens. Good thing is that we'll cover it here, right? So the Bears are going to wait for an opportunity to have a face-to-face with Ben Johnson. I just think that I don't see them making a coaching decision unless Mike McCarthy completely wowed them before. I mean, clearly they've set up other interviews after the McCarthy thing. So other interviews are going to happen. They're going to wait on Ben Johnson, and we'll see what that future holds. If that ends up being the right decision, we'll see. All right, let's get into the next voicemail, man. This one's from Marcus.
Yo, it's Marcus calling in. So yesterday evening, Bears completed their interview with David Shaw, and that sparked a question in my mind. My mind immediately went to one place. And I'd like to hear your feedback on it. You guys, collective feedback on it. With that interview being completed, that the Bears have now completed their minimum requirements for the Rooney Rule. And in my mind, I'm wondering, okay, well, is the timing of that intentional? We knew, and correct me if I'm wrong, I know we knew that they had requested an interview with Shaw, but that when it was happening was kind of up in the air, to my knowledge. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. But for them to have completed that the day before they bring in McCarthy, now my mind goes to beg the question, was that done with in mind that if McCarthy comes in, and again, McCarthy ain't my first choice, but, listening to y'all and just looking at some other things, I've warmed up to the idea. But if are the Bears walking in this potentially with the mindset that, hey, if this interview with McCarthy goes well, if he blows us out of the water, if we like what we hear, we are now prepared to pull the trigger? Just a fun question, like I said. Granted, with how the Bears are, dragging tail with everything else, I don't expect that that's, realistically what they're doing, but it was a fun thought that kind of popped up in my head. So let me know what you guys think.
Marcus, so David Shaw was not brought in face-to-face. It was a Zoom interview or a digital interview. It has to be face-to-face to be compliant with the Rooney Rule. So the Bears are not yet Rooney Rule compliant. The only in-person interview that they've done is Rivera, which would satisfy that. They need another one. So not yet have they completed the Rooney Rule yet. So not a hiring. And that's another thing, too, to watch when the hiring is going to happen. If you haven't satisfied the Rooney Rule, the hiring's not going to happen yet. And that's where we are with the Chicago Bears. But David Shaw, I think it's more than just a Rooney interview. I do think that they're kind of interested in hearing kind of the opinion and thought process and the way that he may attack some things to compare it. But, we'll see. The Bears are, of course, going to have to satisfy the Rooney Rule before they make a hiring. But that David Shaw interview does not do that yet for the reason I laid out, if that makes sense. All right, let's get into the next voicemail, man. This one's from Greg.
Yo. Bad Central Gang, what's the word, man? It's your boy Greg. I had a question. Do you think Notre Dame's coach should be higher up on the list for the Bears? Because I think by him being the age that he is and we're having Caleb Williams as our quarterback, I think that will go well together. Tell me what you guys think. But you always know, Chicago up, Bear down.
Should Marcus Freeman be higher on the list? I think that if Marcus Freeman seemed like he was more open to leaving, like right now, I think he may take the interview, but it doesn't seem like he's really inclined or has any desire to leave Notre Dame. So I don't think that it's a viable. I think that, the Bears are going to sit down, they're going to talk to him. Maybe both sides are wowed by each other, but everything that's shaping up and that we've heard so far, Marcus Freeman wants to stay in Notre Dame. And, it is what it is there. And listen, he has so much power in Notre Dame. If he wins a national championship at Notre Dame, he's going to be a god at that school. He's going to be able to do, and the recruitment that he's going to be able to have going forward in years as well, that's a big thing. And so with him being locked into contract into 2030, he's going to be, I don't see him leaving, but the Bears are going to sit down with him and see what they can do. All right, let's get into the last voicemail for today. This one's from Ant.
Yo, what up, fellas? Boy, Ant. I ain't called in a minute, but I want to give my thoughts and opinions on this coaching search. More specifically, the Mike McCarthy deal. I'm going to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? He an op. I don't like ops because ops ain't done nothing for us at all. Look at what Lukey Dookie did. You know what I'm saying? But I will say this. He wins. I want to win. If they hire him, he better be the best man for the job. And I don't just mean like he can do the job the best. No, I mean like for the Chicago Bears, he has to be the best man for the job because I'm tired of losing. And if he going to win, hey, I'll take him all day, every day because I'm tired of losing. I'd rather not have an op, but if the op get us to where we going to go, then I'll take that. Plus, I will say this, nobody's touched on this, like his departure from Green Bay wasn't all that good. So maybe if he do become the Bears coach, now he got, a chip on his shoulder and a vendetta against Green Bay, and he just makes sure we beat the heck out of Green Bay all the time, I'm going to take that all day, every day. And if that's the case, then I won't look at him like no op. I look at him like, not the Messiah, but I look at him like, hey, keep doing what you do. You know what I'm saying? As long as we, kick them cheeseheads ass, I'm good with that. And he have more aggression towards them than we probably do. Just saying. Because Aaron Rodgers is a quarterback fire. We already know that. The other thing I want to say, I want to give props to Caleb because I was a Justin Fields guy. I wanted Justin Fields to stay here. But I was also trusting in Ryan Poles. I'm still trusting in Ryan Poles. I'm not one of those that's out on Ryan Poles because a lot of these guys forget, hey, the last two GMs was Phil Emery and a guy that fired Lovie Smith. You know what I'm saying? Like, we had those two GMs, and look how that got us. Plus, Ryan Pace, you know what I'm saying? We was in the doghouse. Ryan Poles got us out of all that mess. So I'm still rocking with Poles. But Caleb, I'm going to give him an A for his rookie season because I'm just saying this man played every minute of every down of every game and got hit over 100 times, sacked over 60 times, and he still threw 3,500 yards, 20-some touchdowns, and didn't hit double digits in interceptions as a rookie. Now just imagine if he didn't take half of those sacks. He'd been well over 4,000 yards passing. This kid is the truth. I give him an A for his rookie season. Yeah, he got stuff to work on, but that's a rookie. I said it before when he came in. I didn't want a rookie leave my team because rookie make rookie mistakes, but this kid is special. This kid is the truth, and he deserved to get flowers for what he went through in that rookie season. Like, the kid is special. That's all I got to say. But I want to know y'all thoughts on it, you know what I'm saying? Just let me know. Love you guys. Shout-town up. Bear down. Y'all have a good one.
McCarthy, listen, it is what it is. Like, at this point, it is what it is. The Bears are interviewing him. He's one of the favorites. Op or not, that they like Mike McCarthy. They like Mike McCarthy. And, it is what it is when it comes down to it. And I think ultimately, when as well, like, if the Bears feel like he's the right guy for the job, or meaning even if they strike on him, Ben Johnson, they feel like he's the next best guy for it, then they should get him. Regardless of anything, if they truly feel that he's the next best guy, they should get him. Now, he has, of course, just like any coach, he has his negatives, he has his knocks, he has his things that he's not good on, his concerns, red flags, whatever you want to call them. But no coach is going to be a perfect candidate on paper. And despite what some people will tell you, no, Ben Johnson's not perfect either. So the Bears just got to try to find the right guy. They got to get this right, though, as we've been talking about before. As far as you not being out on Ryan Poles, I think it's kind of the more level-headed people have recognized that as well. Nobody should be completely like Poles has made mistakes. Make no mistake about it. In no way I'm going to try to sell this on Poles has done most things right. No, the fuck he hasn't. He hasn't. And I'm not going to try to sell you on that. But I will say this is that Ryan Poles is getting an opportunity, whether some Bears fans think he should or not, to right this ship. And hopefully he does. Because not even just for him, because ultimately if the Bears fire Ryan Poles, cool, whatever. I'm still a Bears fan. You just make sure the next GM is great. But for Poles' sake, if he wants to stay in this job, he's going to have to get this right. And let's hope that he does. But that's my time for today, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following the show at Shy Bear Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.